Good afternoon. This is JC, the hippie, aka St. Louis's oldest living hippie, bringing you an article in Substack, which is very, very well respected place where very well respected journalists place truthful, factual articles, and they do it for your education, whether it's political or scientific or any other subject, because it's not just a political rag. Okay? So they have an article about Jeff Bezos and his penny ante excuse of why he's not endorsing Kamala Harris in the Washington Post. And I say penny ante because his excuse sucks for air. You know what I mean? It's his excuse sucks the big one, and you know what I'm talking about. It's so much bullshit because it's for a publication that's going out of business. It's going to eventually fold, and to do what he did, and it has lost 200,000 subscribers over that, I read this morning. That's my take to this, and I read it in a different article, that he is just going to take his excuse and run the paper in the ground. So here it is. Let's listen to this.
Jeff Bezos has a business problem. Out with the olds, in with the news. By Hamish McKenzie. Jeff Bezos seems to relish taking on almost impossible projects. After magicking up the everything store, which can now get a toothbrush from the internet to my house in 6 hours, he founded a rocket ship company, Blue Origin, with the hope of making spaceflight so cheap that humans can live in Earth's orbit. But his most difficult task might just be trying to revive the Washington Post and restore it to a semblance of its former glory while also making it solvent. It's also far less fun. Yesterday, Bezos published a defense of why the newspaper he bought 11 years ago is not endorsing a presidential candidate this year. His case, whether you like it or not, was coherent. Americans trust the media less than they trust even Congress. And any news organization in this day and age that presents itself as impartial undermines its own credibility by appearing to...
Trump maggots trust the media less. We trust the media somewhat. We trust CNN somewhat. We trust MSNBC a lot. But we can't stand many of the other things. In fact, 538, which was previously a privately owned polling corporation, is now owned by ABC. Fucking ABC, which is owned by Disney, now owns 538. Do you trust the 538 polls? I wouldn't, I don't, and I won't. So there, let's continue.
Take sides. We must be accurate and we must be believed to be accurate, he wrote. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing on the second requirement. Most people believe the media is biased. As much merit as there might be to Bezos's argument, and as understandable as it might be for his critics to decry a powerful and conflicted owner's interference in an ostensibly independent editorial process.
True.
The root problem for the Post in its fight against irrelevance is less to do with a steely-eyed commitment to fairness and balance, and more to do with a business bind. It just doesn't make much sense for a news organization in the year 2024 to look like the Post looks, with thousands of editorial and sales staff, a product that often comes across as New York Times light, an income stream that blends premium subscriptions with crappy digital ads, and a political positioning that adopts the voice from nowhere, but whose staff is quite clearly and vocally on social media, aligned with a particular party. It's an institution that is out of place and out of time, a railroad company in the age of the automobile, a paper company in the age of the touchscreen. The media ecosystem is in crisis because social media has a mental illness and traditional media has a physical illness. Today's dominant social media platforms might make us angry and dumb, but they have functioning business models and, with the exception of X, financial stability. Today's largest traditional media companies have the opposite problem. They produce quality work, but, with the exception of the New York Times and a few others, their increasingly decrepit bodies can no longer support their own weight. Even with an owner whose pockets are as deep as the Mariana Trench, the Post cannot escape that illness. When new publisher Will Lewis met with staff in May, he said the company had lost $77 million over the previous year and seen a 50% reduction in audience over 4 years. So what's a news industry to do? Well, one path is to...
And they lost 200,000 current subscribers, as I mentioned, because of their not endorsing Kamala Harris.
Hope that stupendously wealthy individuals who believe that newspapers and magazines are still essential to a functioning democracy choose to prop them up. A path that Bezos, Mark Benioff, Time Magazine, Patrick Soon-Shiong, the LA Times, and Laureen Powell Jobs, The Atlantic, are currently on. That can work for a few and for a time. But at some point, assuming you are willing to put up with the prickly conflicts of interest, you run out of people who fit into the tight part of that Venn diagram, and even then, their willingness to absorb financial bleeding isn't infinite. Another path is to stop looking to the past for hope. When the fire has ripped through the forest, new trees can grow. With the emergence of powerful new publishing platforms, growth through social networks, and a widespread acceptance that quality journalism can command quality subscription prices, we are witnessing the rise of a new generation that can build for the media future without the legacy baggage of old institutions. Startup news organizations such as Bari Weiss's The Free Press, Mehdi Hassan Azidio, The Bulwark, Defector, Puck, Punchbowl News, The Ankler, and The Dispatch are proving that, while existing news outlets continue to struggle, the conditions are more favorable than perhaps at any time in history to start a new media organization.
That's about enough. I think you've heard enough of it. I don't want to take any more time because it's been 6 minutes long. So there you see, Jeff Bezos' excuse doesn't cut water. He saying that he's doing it because the paper needs to strengthen its reputation. The paper has no reputation to strengthen. It's already a loser. It's already a financial loser, and it's going to go under at some point. I don't care how much money Bezos puts into it. Eventually, it will go under, or he'll sell it to some other fool who'll watch it go under. So, in my opinion, the Washington Post is another Donald Trump loser. All he needs to do is sell it to Donald Trump, and that'll really end it. So anyway, this is JC, St. Louis's oldest living hippie, saying, fuck you, Jeff Bezos, and fuck you, Donald Trump. You are the stupidest people on the face of God's green earth. And to all my friends and family and followers, I love you all. Pox some more, Jack, and keep on trying.